Hello, welcome to AmfaTube. On 20th March 2025, in the state Kerala, in a place called Thodupuzha, it witnessed a cold-blooded murder of one catering service business owner, Biju Joseph. He was brutally killed by his business partner, Joman Joseph, along with other two aides. The reason Biju Joseph was running a catering business where Jomon has invested a few funds and became a partner. As time went, the business was not finding the expected prospects. So they got into a deal for a separation. But later, Biju couldn't honor the expected deal, the written deal. That is what it was heard before getting into the actual nitty-gritties. Even they went on to a mediation in the presence of a local police, where they have agreed for some deals, some transactions. Again, that couldn't be honored, and that got into aggravated the revenge. So that revenge finally became a cause for a murder, a brutal murder where Biju was killed and drowned into a manhole in the factory itself. See the fate. Similar incidents are reported some other places as well. On 27 January 2025, in Rajasthan's Jodhpur, a bangle factory owner, Shyam Singh Bhati, bangle craftsman named Pradeep Devasai. The reason for rivalry, they were known to each other for past 20 years. But for some reason, after starting the business for 9 months, it was okay. But then Pradeep Devasai, who was a craftsman, he has decided to quit. So that has dumped the business into a trouble, and Shyam couldn't recover that. So that got into a revenge where Pradeep's two kids were brutally hanged to death by Shyam. See how people became so cruel, though they were known for years together, 2 decades they were knowing. So that is why when this trust is suddenly getting into mistrust, a friendship suddenly getting into a foe, it's very much difficult to control. Another similar incident happened in Haryana's Narel. In Narel, a play school was planned between one Varsha and Sohan Lal. So both these partners, business partners, they had a plan to start, or they started it, but they couldn't fetch the real plan into action. And Varsha was brutally killed by Sohan Lal for some disputes or some difference. So there are a lot of killing or murder happening, but when it comes to a business partner who is known to you for years or known to each other for years, what is the reason for such mishappening? A few practical cases where I could directly witness and also try to get into a problem solving number of cases. A few basic reasons are, even if concreted very good agreement, a document agreement between the partners, whether it's a two or among the partners, whether it's a multiple partners. Most of the time, even if there are 4 to 5 partners, there is one person who is taking most of the pain, efforts, time, planning, thinking, and more struggles. So the person who is taking that lead should be rewarded when it is on a real gain. At the same time, he shouldn't be dumped with all the liabilities if the venture is getting into a loss. That's a principle number one. Number two, when somebody is in a real race to take the venture to a success, he hardly gets time to discuss the struggles and challenges with other partners. Other partners will be under an impression that this particular gentleman, he's running the show very well and he's getting a good gain out of it. So a proper periodic communication, sharing the benefits, sharing the challenges, sharing the struggles, and the forecasted issues should be shared, preferably in a mediation of a person who really understands the business. That's rule number two. So rule number three, it's very important. As we said, when you set up an agreement, mostly it will be a very generic agreement. Some CA or a lawyer just drafted out of a template. Absolutely doesn't make a sense when it comes to a dispute. So the specific market or the specific business model has to be understood by a business consultant or somebody who is well versed with such scenario. He should be instrumental in crafting that agreement. It should clearly define what is a entry, how is the entry, what are the stakes, not just the money investment I'm saying, rather the effort investment, the sweat investment, how it is really honored. When it comes to an operation, what are the stakes of each partners? And when it comes to an exit by a single partner or a multiple partners, or in the event of a termination or a closure of the venture, the company, how each partner will be treated, what will be their shares, what will be their liabilities, what will be their waiting period. All that has to be very clearly defined and documented in the agreement. That's very important. So this will alleviate mostly the chances of disputes. Nonetheless, even if you have a very concrete agreement, there are many occasions people interpret in a different way. They act too cunning and smart, and still it can get into disputes and quarrels. A basic principle again we have to follow is, even if there is a heavy argument, better put a mediator who really understands the business, at least who understands the accounts, the profit and loss, the transactions, the input, output, the tax, the profit, the loss, how's the stock, the perishable, the non-perishable, all that details, at least in general, somebody who understands that should be assigned as a mediator. Never ever take a first step going to the police or a court where they hardly understand the business model. They are least bothered about understanding, listening to your issue points. They have multiple cases, crimes, law and order, POCSO, then land disputes, even other drug issues. Multiple issues are there in front of them, and this will also be one among that. So they get into a very normal course of problem solving, and which will be an unrealistic and illogical. It will not give a problem solving. Some of the cases you will also encounter, getting into the trap of a corrupt officer who try to encash some amount out of that issue, so which will aggravate the issue rather than solving it. So better, before getting into a litigation process, take the aid of a genuine general business firm or a consulting firm or a consulting person who can really understand and give a solution. Please remember, an amicable solution by giving and taking from both the sides, adjusting from both the sides. That is always recommended rather than going for a long-term fight or long-term case procedures and things like that. So please remember, when you are about to lose in a venture, better to settle it amicable and keep the mental stability, overcoming the failure and get into the new status and take the life longer, and also keep the relations safer as far as possible. These kind of case discussions are very vital in understanding, appreciating the business success. Please stay tuned with Amplitude. We'll discuss further on this.